let's go to the New York Auto Show. So, this is one of the biggest auto shows in the country, and lucky enough, I'm here in New York, and so we'll be able to take you around, see all the new vehicles. There's already been some new announcements at this show, such as the new Kia K4, which will be replacing the Forte, their cheapest car, and a number of others. So, let's see what they've got. By the way, in this video, I'm going to try to keep the music to a minimum so you can actually hear what I'm talking about. I'll be giving some facts and figures about some vehicles, and there are some new releases that were released during this show and unveiled. So I'm going to try to make this video mostly just a talking video, so please watch through if you like that. All right, so as we make our way into the Javits Center, where tickets cost about $20, $22 for entry for an adult, you can see they have a really cool Lego version of the Javits Conference Center here. And the entrance is massive. You can see it's all glass. This is my first time in here, so a very cool experience. Now, the first booths you see are Ford and Nissan, so let's hit the Ford side, where you see a Lightning that looks more like a Raptor because this is a special RTR edition made for going Baja racing. And as you can see, it has wider fenders and very cool design. Now you can see the Heritage Edition of the Broncos and Bronco Sports here with a Bronco Raptor. Later, we'll see the new Ranger Raptor, but this is the regular Ranger, which can tow up to 7,500 pounds, which is pretty dang good. Also, you see it's a new design on the exterior and interior, but this is so cool. The all-new Mustang Dark Horse, as you can see from the new label that they have on the back and on the fenders. So this is the Dark Horse, the current most powerful version, but the GTD, the Porsche 911 GT3 Killer, it's insane in person. It's still not available, but it has a supercharged 5.2 liter V8 that's going to be making over 800 horsepower. And you can see the insane amount of aero, lots of carbon fiber. Many of the body panels are actually made out of carbon fiber, and the wheels, I believe, are also magnesium. And it's going to start from a little bit over $300,000, and that insane wing looks beautiful. I think it looks great, but paying $300,000 for a Mustang is a hard sell. But those exhausts look so cool, and you can bet this thing is going to sound amazing, and you can kind of tell, but there's actually no trunk, so very interesting. And then we have the most boring of the Mustangs, the Mach-E. This is a cool rally version, but now we get to the Raptor. All right, we're at the Ford booth. You saw a little bit of footage, but let's go check out the Raptors, the new regular Raptor, Raptor R, and they also have the new Ranger Raptor, which is yet to come out. And they actually did like the unveil and the testing of it for the journalists in Utah, which is pretty cool. So this is the all-new Ranger Raptor. You get that cool wide body with the decals on it. This is in the blue, and I love the blue. You get a little hint of the beadlock capable 17-inch wheels with 33-inch BF Goodrich KO3 tires and a good starting price of $55,000 in comparison to the larger full-sized Raptor. Now you can see the facelift for this all-new generation of Ford Raptor. And here you can see something very interesting, a 12-inch infotainment screen and a 12.4-inch digital gauge cluster with paddle shifters. And those paddle shifters felt pretty dang good. You have an automatic transmission, 10 speeds, with a V6 that makes 405 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. I can't speak. And it has an anti-lag system to keep those turbos spooled up with a 0 to 60 of hopefully under 6 seconds. And it's got a good amount of space, but again, this is a mid-sized pickup truck, not a full-size truck. This is the full-size, which is the Ford Raptor R. And so when it's an R, as you can see with the little red R, that means it has the V8 and it is not V6. And this is a new facelifted version of that vehicle. So this has a supercharged V8
and it sounds amazing. Now you can tell how much bigger the regular Raptor is in comparison to the Raptor Ranger or Ranger Raptor. This is more traditional F-150. Now let's look at the Chevy side. So this is the Chevy Colorado ZR2, and this is supposed to be the highest end of the Chevy versions with the active suspension, much like the Ranger Raptor, which also had Fox active suspension. But the ZR2, there's also a ZR2 Bison, but this is the off-road trim, and it looks pretty good, although reliability is an issue for Chevrolets. This is the largest version of ZR2s. This is a ZR2 Bison for the Silverado Heavy Duty, and the all-new Chevy Equinox. This is a very popular vehicle. Many police departments use them, but also a lot of fleet vehicles. So you'll probably see this at your local rental car agency. But it actually looks pretty good, and they're trying to make it a little bit more interesting, and there is an off-road trim now. So I think it looks pretty good, and it levels up with the basic car on the road looks like, and the new Chevy Traverse with the Z71 package. I think it actually looks quite good. This new face on Chevys, I think, is a good step into the future, and especially with the new screens that run Google software. Now, of course, we had to check out the Corvettes with the carbon fiber wheels. I mean, look at this. And this is an E-Ray, so it is the hybrid with the front electric motor. But then you compare it to the ZR2, I believe this is, of the Corvette. You've got the carbon fiber wings, carbon fiber wheels as well are available. And this is the electric Equinox. So there are two distinct versions of the Equinox that are totally different from each other. And this is the electric one. It looks totally different. You can see the front end is completely unique to this car. It has the different, more, electric-y kind of door handles, but it is completely a different vehicle, which is a weird thing that Chevy is doing. Like the Blazer has a gas version, which is completely different to the electric version, but I will say the interior of this car looks pretty good, although a lot of the materials were quite cheap. Now we have the all-new Silverado EV. Again, a totally different vehicle, which is so interesting because unlike Ford, which made the F-150 and F-150 Lightning on essentially the same chassis, this vehicle is totally unique from the regular Silverado, not only in looks, but also in platform and architecture. So this vehicle, you can see has 23-inch rims. It's more of a street truck, although there is also a work truck version.
All right, so let's go check out the new Nissan Kicks, which is their most affordable SUV. It looks good, looks a lot less rental car specky, but we all know where these will all end up, which is on a Hertz parking lot. But still cool to see what they look like.
Now, this vehicle, I think, takes a huge step up from the previous generation of Kicks in styling and interior, and in the technology that it has. Now we go to the more interesting of the Nissans, which are the new Nismo Z and the Nismo GTR. Kind of interesting that they had such a long line for people just to go look at it and get inside. I have a feeling that if they didn't have this, the line would actually be shorter. It's all kind of like a mental thing, but whatever. Now we go to the more high-end vehicles. So you see an LMO2 actually owned by Michael Strahan, which interesting. And then you have a LaFerrari owned by Tracy Morgan, also interesting. But here, the new Rolls-Royce Spectre. Oh my gosh, it looks good. A lot of people also thought it looked good, but this is one I have not seen before because I've seen the Rolls-Royce before, but this is the Rimac Nevera. Now, these have been going to customers for a little while now, but I actually haven't seen one in person, and my goodness, does it have a presence. It looks fantastic. I think this carbon exposed body looks so good.
And here we have the Koenigsegg.
like very 80s.
All right, now we know the cops will not be catching us because they'll be in a blazer. It'll either break down or be too slow to get us. So, very good, very good. The future is bright. The all-new electric Porsche Macan Turbo, but there ain't no turbo.
But with that turbo boost, you get 630 horsepower with a top speed of 161 miles an hour and a 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. Now, range is still TBD, but it is a very expensive vehicle starting at $105,000, and even the Porsche Macan 4, which is the base model, starts at $78,000. So it comes at quite a premium over the regular Macan. But hey, that's where it's going now.
Here we have the new refreshed Taycan. New headlights, new front end, seems more steeply raked, new rims. Looks good. Rear end is very, very minimally changed. It looks as though it's a bit wider now, but probably not at all, or if at all, just a little bit. All right, now let's go see something really interesting that very few people have seen in person. The all-new Lamborghini Revuelto. Still with the V12, but now a hybrid. Looks fantastic. Fantastique. It still has quite the presence. Oh, look at that sensor right there. Very good. The all-new Chinese Lotus, built in China, the Electra. All electric, of course. And the all Toyota Lotus. Now made. The Toyota V6 engine. The same you'll find in a Sienna of the previous generation. But looks good. Looks good. Still built in Britain. Great for getting groceries. Great for going around the block to get groceries.
So a few things about the Spectre actually. The interior can be had in all vegan materials since it is supposed to be a new generation of vehicle, but hey, you gotta get the leather. Now, let's talk about the new VW ID Buzz. It looks great, but I think functionally it might not be great. Now, I think a traditional minivan might be better just because this one seemed to be lacking in a lot of areas such as cargo space and some features. I think this car is really heavily relying on its nostalgia factor.
Much like the original, the ID Buzz, the bus, probably won't make it up a hill anyway because it's going to have around 200 horsepower, so. But it looks cool.
Also, the ID7 looks really good.
Okay, first hear that. Built alongside the Sequoia in Texas. This is Toyota's full-size power pickup.
All right, we got the same Land Cruiser that we saw in Utah at the auto show just a couple months ago. We got the new 1958 Land Cruiser base model. I'm surprised in New York they don't have the other ones, but we'll just deal with the base model then.
So while editing this video, the new Toyota 4Runner came out, and at the reveal, the other Land Cruisers were there, which is why I assumed they weren't at the show.
So right before the show started, Toyota actually teased the new 4Runner. So this is the last special color we're getting in this generation of 4Runner. It's the Mocha. It looks good in person, but can't wait to see what they have next. The new Tacoma Trail Hunter, first time seeing it in person, with the new Trail Hunter logo.
It has a 4 in the name.
Bronze wheels also look great. An ARB bumper, very interesting.
Before we do, I got one more.
Great to see the Supra and the GR Corolla. This is not the circuit with the rear seat delete, but still awesome to see it. And it's the manual. Let's check out the engine, the 3-cylinder turbo. Amazing. So the new Lexus TX, or Texas, the Lexus Texas, looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I've seen actually quite a few of these already acting as Ubers in New York City. So these are out. They are for sale, but this is why we're at the Lexus booth. The new GX, of course. It looks fantastic. And the overtrail trim. Look at that articulation. Love it. The color suits it perfectly. If you're not taking it off-road, what are you doing? You know how much I love a GX as an owner of a GX. But this one, the twin-turbo V6, non-hybrid. So you get a little bit more fuel efficiency by like 1 or 2 miles per gallon, but look at that articulation. You got an itty-bitty little ladder. You got an itty-bitty ladder. Nice LX, cool wrap. Definitely like how the new GX looks. They knocked it out of the park. Great to see it in person, and hope to see a lot of these on the road very soon. And they also have the luxury trim as well. Those rims look straight out of GTA, so that's pretty funny. And got rear glass that opens. And this one, since it's a luxury trim, has a 3rd row in it. We got screens for the kids in the back. This one's got the Mark Levinson sound system, the captain's chairs, and the full sunroof, which can go opaque. And here you can see that 3rd row. And the interior. Look at the way the paint just glistens under the light. It's fantastic. The interior looks fantastic. Great to see a bigger screen, more modern, in the new GX. Got wireless charging, locking center diff, even in the luxury trim with a low-range gearbox. But even paddle shifters, which you'll never use, but feels good. I love the flat dash, and it looks good.
So the Genesis booth was one of the most interesting. Not only did they have free coffees and all this kind of stuff, but they had some great concept cars, such as this new all-electric Genesis SUV. But this is the most interesting. So Genesis is actually going to be creating a M division, AMG division, RS division for their cars called Magma. So now we're going to see high-performance versions of their vehicles, both gas and electric. That'll be called Magma. Hyundai has the N division or N line. So this is what the Magma potential vehicles will look like. You have more aggressive styling, more power, different wheels and wings on the back. I think they look incredible. This Magma color also is just so not Genesis that it looks amazing. This is a luxury brand. Most of their cars are in black or white or silver, and then you get something that looks like this, their new concept vehicle, which it just is one of the most amazing looking vehicles I've ever seen. And of course, you got the GV60, that's Magma. So really Genesis knocking it out of the park. But now onto the Hyundai side of things. Of course, they're the same company, but Hyundai Santa Fe. We got the new Santa Fe in this brown matte color. You probably have seen a lot of content about this, but it was really nice to see it in person. It is actually quite good. Considering the price, of course, a lot of materials are, hard plastics and such, but I will say this interior looks fantastic and it's a great place to spend time. I think if you have kids, this is a great vehicle. And the grab handle, of course, because they want to make it outdoorsy. If you want to get to something on the roof, you step on the tire, step on up, and you hold on to that grab handle. Here you also saw the lights flash at the bottom because, of course, the taillights are part of the hatch. But now we see the new facelifted Hyundai Sonata, which also, I will say, looks incredible. I saw one a couple months ago, actually, and I don't think I was supposed to be able to see it. because it wasn't out yet or announced, but this new one looks great. I think the rear of the vehicle looks incredible with that black bar. It's very digital, looks much sportier. This part is very interesting though. So here we see the Ioniq 5N, which honestly, I love it. This color looks fantastic. The design cues for the N also look great. Of course, it is the fastest, most powerful version of the Ioniq 5. Would I buy it over a Tesla Model Y Performance? Probably not, but still looks really great. And then, of course, you have the Elantra N, which has that notoriously loud and banging exhaust, and of course the N colors as well. Equally great interior for the price, especially, but this has a 4-cylinder gas or petrol engine. But really cool where they took that little N and lit it up in the seats, much like an M car. And the new redesigned, refreshed Hyundai Santa Cruz, you can see it's a little bit more tough for their city-going truck. And this is the all-new interior for the Hyundai Tucson. The Tucson also got a refresh for 2025. Very minimal design differences on the outside. You can see below the grille, there's a bit of more intake. Now, this is the Lexus RCF race car, and it looks like it just came off the racetrack. But this is the all-new Infiniti QX80 with a twin-turbo V6 engine, making over 450 horsepower, mated to a 9-speed transmission. Now, this is the all-new QX80, which means new styling, new body, new everything. And the interior is very new and much appreciated because this features 3 screens in the front, 2 of them being 4.3 inches. You've got a screen for the rear view mirror, and you have still that screen for the climate control, which is a little weird, but it's okay. And you have a wireless charger. You have all the features, massage, ventilated, heated seats, everything like that. But what's very interesting is that massage feature is also available in the second row. And optionally, you can have all the seats heated. That means even the third row. You get a 360 camera, you get a panoramic sunroof, great materials all around. Honestly, they knocked it out of the park. Expectations are always a little bit lower with the Nissan and Infiniti group, but I think they've done a great job. You can control many of the features on this Autograph top spec model through that screen in the rear seats. And here you can see some of the cargo space. Of course, all the seats are electrically maneuvered, so if you need to lower the seats in the third or second row, you can do that all from the back, and you get a really cool light bar going across the back of the vehicle with Infiniti spelled out, which seems to be quite the trend these days. And I think this design looks way better than the previous. It's slightly bigger, and it also is less bulbous. It kind of looked like a whale before. Now it looks more like a proper SUV with more squared off lines. So as we walk over to the Honda booth right behind it, we see the Honda Prologue, which is actually built by GM in conjunction with the Blazer. And here you can see all the space that's wasted, essentially because they didn't put a front trunk on this vehicle. But I will say the interior is very Honda, which means it's going to be very familiar for those coming from maybe a CR-V or other vehicle in the Honda lineup. And you still get a lot of good features such as Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which GM versions will not have. And you can see because this is the electric one, Honda is spelled out. So this next vehicle is very interesting because this is the all-new Kia K4, which will be the new smallest and cheapest Kia, replacing the Forte. as you can see, it looks quite upmarket with light bars, full LED lights on the front as standard. You got a standard 12.3-inch screen, 360 cameras, blind spot monitors with the blind spot showing up in the center display. You got heated, ventilated seats, panoramic sunroof. I mean, this thing is great, and it's got a 2-liter 4-cylinder base engine or a 1.6-liter 4-cylinder with 190 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. As you can see, this is the Acura ZDX. Sorry, that was kind of a weird transition, but the new Acura ZDX, they're advertising this everywhere. So this is the electric version of the Prologue as well, also built by GM. Now we see Polestar with the Polestar 2, 3, 4, and they look fantastic, although I will say they are priced quite premium, which means they are priced more than double that of their competitors, such as the Tesla Model Y. And this one's very interesting because the Polestar 4 actually has no rear window, so you'll be heavily relying on a camera for your rear view mirror. But they look fantastic. The materials look great. It's just in terms of power to cost and things like that, it doesn't compare. But of course, you all are also paying for the luxury. And what's very interesting is that these new Polestars will also integrate LiDAR into their vehicles, which you can see on the top of the vehicle right above the windscreen. Here we go. And as well as around the vehicle that pop out. As we move over to GMC, you can see the electric GMC Denali for the... Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. But this is pretty much a Silverado EV, but now the GMC version. But what's really cool is you can actually put down the midgate and you have a huge bed, because now you put down the seats, you put down the middle of the vehicle, and now you could fit massive amounts of things in the back. So that's very cool. Kind of harkens back to, I believe, the Avalanche had that. So anyway, outside, we have the test facilities for Jeep and Ford, where Ford had the Bronco, Jeep had Gladiators, Wranglers, and even the new Grand Cherokee. One primary difference that I noticed was in Utah, we got to drive the vehicles as showgoers, but here it was actually people from Jeep or from Ford that were driving the vehicles, which not as fun, but still cool. So, I say so a lot, excuse me for saying that, but we have the Porsche area where we have a 918 Spider that looks incredible, and we have a bunch of 911s. So you've got Targas, you've got Sport Classics, you've got turbos, you have a GT3 RS, and so really, really awesome to see all of these Porsches together, mostly 911s. You even have the new off-road Porsche that is the Porsche 911 Dakar, and I think it looks fantastic. Personally, I don't know. I think I might take a Dakar over a GT3 RS, but that's just because I love off-roading and it just fits with what I like. But the GT3 RS looks fantastic in this white and black scheme, but the Sport Classic with that gold lettering is just so good. So good. I'm not even a Porsche guy. I'm kind of weird for that, but yeah, I love these in the green with the gold. Now, this is a very old classic Porsche. This is the original Porsche. Sorry, don't mean to call it Porsche. I believe that was a 1962 from the sign. Yeah, I read it off the sign. I'm not a huge Porsche guy, so I don't know everything about them. But I believe the Targa with that stainless steel looking Targa component is pretty cool. And of course, the Carrera RS is a classic. It looks fantastic. These are all the air-cooled Porsches. And honestly, I get it. I get why people like them. But here we can see, actually this is downstairs. So the advantage of having so many electric cars now on the market is that you can do test drives indoors with no emissions. And so you see Chevy Blazers, Cadillac Lyrics, Lexus RZs, all indoors. So now we go to the personal collections and the different vendors. This Rolls-Royce Wraith looked incredible. I can't stress to you enough how incredible this looked. Even the paint had gold specks in it. It was harkening back to, of course, The Godfather. Look at that, man. I mean, this is just a great build, and honestly, one of my favorite cars from the show, although a little bit gaudy, but it's okay. And this overall collection has some great vehicles. Now we had a huge Toyota Supra section with the original Supras, a lot of Japanese domestic imported ones, and pretty much every generation of Supra could be found at this show. So if you're a big Supra guy, you can find every generation. You can find built-out ones, original spec ones, etc. And this Huracan was interesting. It was the only Huracan there. Ooh, this is awesome. So this was a Jaguar XJ220 with custom rims. So they were live wrapping this vehicle, but my goodness, it is such a rare sight to see a Jaguar XJ220 in the real life. And this was the most labor intensive car there, hands down. I mean, like, the amount of detail on this Impala is simply to die for. I mean, I'm not one that would own this car, but I can respect the craftsmanship, the paint job, the door handles, the mirrors, the interior. I mean, every little bit of this vehicle was custom. And of course, the show would not be complete without a Urus. And of course, this is a off-road Urus. And honestly, I'm for it. I love off-roading everything, and an off-road Lamborghini is what I like, just like the Storado. But that's it.
All right, so after a long day and many cars, as you've seen, I'm gonna head home. But I hope you enjoyed this video. It's incredible to see what the biggest auto shows around the country are like in comparison to secondary markets like Salt Lake. But really cool to see a lot of new prototype cars that are coming out, cars that are coming very soon, like the Land Cruiser and the GX. So very, very cool to be at the New York Auto Show. Lots of amazing things. They even have test drives indoors, you saw. So pretty cool. I've said that many times, but definitely something to check out if you're ever in New York, or I guess a big market when any of these shows are happening. I'll catch you in the next one. Like and subscribe.